Welcome to the On Stage podcast, where we deep dive into the power of music and entertainment. Welcome, everyone. Today, you would not believe it, we have the pleasure of speaking with the incredibly talented members of Vynilyn, or Vynilyn, I guess, a unique musical group that blends the classical elegance of the violin, my favorite instrument, with the modern beats of a DJ. Based in Las Vegas, Vynilyn consists of two virtuoso violinists, Adrianna Shaw, who played with Rod Stewart and Celine Dion, and Grammy-nominated Carissa Werner, Michael Bublé and Bad Bunny. She was actually playing with them. So that's, wow, that's quite a... And can't forget the world-renowned DJ CB Shaw, rehab at Hard Rock Caesars Las Vegas. Hello there. The three full-time professionals have joined forces to create an experience that transfixes the listener, engages the viewer, and moves the dance floor. I can feel it already. You're not even playing. Creating an unforgettable musical experience. Let's dive into their journey, inspirations, and what makes their performance so special. Welcome, Vynilyn, to the show. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for reaching out. I really appreciate this. And I was really excited and realizing that that just amazing, just who you are and what you've done. And Adrianna, so Adrianna Shaw, you worked and played with Rod Stewart and Celine Dion. What was that experience like?
It was amazing. So I toured with Rod Stewart for 6 years, world tours, and he's got the energy of the Energizer Bunny. So we would definitely perform, we would party, we would record, we did a whole bunch of different stuff, and that was amazing. And yeah, it was really a lifetime experience for me.
That's amazing. What were they like in real life? Like, for instance, Celine Dion, I know she's going through something right now.
Now, so when I performed with her, it was a few years back. I did a few concerts with her, and she was with Andrea Bocelli, and they were singing together. And she was really gracious and really kind, and she didn't really put out the struggle that she was going through. So yeah, just a very strong but generous person still, even with all that. And then with Rod Stewart, part of the time that I was touring with him, he had cancer and hadn't let anybody in the band know that he was dealing with that, and still performing constantly, touring, traveling, and all that. And then when he did tell us, he told us right before he let the media know. And he's just, even with going through all of that hardship, he was very kind and generous. He's very much a little boy at heart. He's very playful. And so it's really fun. He's the whole band was like a family to him. So we'd always hang out. We'd go to dinners. We'd do fun things, see the sights. Yeah.
So why did you leave?
I had to have a baby. I couldn't.
Oh, yeah?
At some point, I couldn't fly anymore. And he did ask me to come back after I had the baby, but I didn't want to travel with the baby because it is very stressful. It is like you're constantly moving and not getting regular sleep and traveling to different time zones. And it would be too much, I think.
I can imagine that. And don't forget, we have Grammy-nominated Carissa Werner. You play with Michael Bublé and Bad Bunny. What was Michael Bublé really like in real life? I heard other stories.
Well, the Michael Bublé I got to be around. I was really impressed with him as a father and a husband. We would be practicing and rehearsing, and he had his kids sitting on the stage, and he's throwing a football around with his son. Or he had another kid just walking around and carrying a kid on his shoulders, giving a piggyback ride as he's singing perfectly in tune.
Yeah, he's amazing.
his voice is just as incredible.
And he's also very funny.
Yeah, he's very funny, and he was so kind to all of us.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah.
Cracking jokes with the orchestra. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. I'd be interested in knowing what what the whole hoopla is about Bad Bunny.
If you figure that out, let me know. Everyone has to deal with Bad Bunny.
As a DJ, he gets requested Bad Bunny every single night he performs in Vegas.
And when he gives them the request, he'll play a Bad Bunny song, and then they request another one. So he's.
I just have the sign ready when they come up to me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, when I played with Bad Bunny, we didn't really get to interact as much as I would have liked and get to know him. It was for the Latin Grammys, and so those rehearsals are really like time crunched. So we were in place on stage, we ran through our part, and then they brought him out quickly. We rehearsed his part, and then we had the actual performance live on TV. So unfortunately, I don't really know too much about him personally, like I would have liked to have gotten to know him.
Well, as violinists, did you get a chance to like maybe play with Joshua Bell or any of those other big virtuosos out there, like Andre Rieu?
Joshua Bell.
I've also had dinner with Joshua Bell.
Yeah,
as like colleagues, but not haven't performed with him. No, because we don't play in orchestras as much. That's more of like a classical orchestra style thing, and in Vegas he would always do solo stuff with other artists, but we all kind of know each other through other people, so we've hung out.
Hey, CB, so you were DJ at Rehab at Hard Rock Caesars Las Vegas. Now, as a DJ, you were spinning records like this, like they usually do, or was it just like vinyls and you just, my next song I'm going to play? What was your job actually as a DJ?
So I started off playing all vinyl, and then things transitioned into using a computer to play the music. And there's various ways you can control the music that's coming off the computer. You can use a piece of time-coded vinyl, which is you put the needle on the vinyl and it sends a signal to the computer. You can also use what's called a CDJ, which is basically just a CD player that, again, sends a signal to the computer. And now we have these little things that they sit on top of the record, and it sends a wireless signal to the computer. Yeah. And tells it where in the song you are, which is what we use in our show.
Yeah, it's kind of like Bluetooth almost. You can actually pick the record up and do this, and it makes... Yeah, you could like
really
like that.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, and
wow.
Not only the song you're hearing, but it also controls the video and the lights. So if I stop the record, the video stops, the lights stop. If I scratch it forward and backward, the video goes backward and forward, the lights go backward and forward. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
So now you have two virtuosos who play the violin, then you have a DJ, and then you get together and you formed your group. So what inspired the formation of Vynilyn?
Well, we're married, and I just wanted to be able to work with my husband. That was another reason why I left touring, was I wanted to tour as a family. There's nothing as rewarding as like getting off stage, and by the way, Chris is like my best friend, so that helps too. And there's nothing more rewarding than like performing as like with the best friend and the husband, and then coming back to like the hotel room and grandma is watching the baby. Like there's nothing better than that. That's like the best thing ever. And so
it's a family thing.
Yeah, it's a family and friend thing. It's very much like from the heart, and
yeah, we all have played in, obviously, in other people's groups, and because this is our group, when we're on stage, at least for me, speaking for myself, I look over and I see them and I'm just so happy. Like, I'm just like, oh, these are my friends. Oh, this is the best, like my wife and my friend and our group, and versus, working for someone else or on behalf of someone else. There's a real satisfaction in creating your own thing.
So I take it that when your baby was born, it actually came with a violin as well.
Actually, yeah, we do have a little violin for her. She kind of just carries it around at this point.
Yeah,
she just started
hits
walking
it like this, like a drum.
Yeah.
She's playing like slapping bass with it a little bit.
She plucks the strings too. Like she definitely tries to make sounds with it.
Yeah.
She's actually a decent DJ.
Yeah.
She can scratch.
Yeah.
Like it's the scratch she can do is actually called the baby scratch. But she can do it, and she does it in time, and it sounds like a real scratch. It's crazy. She's
so cute.
She learned that before she was 1 year old.
Yeah.
So let me guess. The child's name is either Rosin or Bo.
It's Stella Mina. Yeah, Stella Mina.
Yeah. So what names were you toying with when you finally came down to Vynilyn?
Well, before we thought about having Carissa in the group, we were kind of playing around with 2 Blonde because we were 2 blondes.
Yeah.
But
and a few other names.
A couple other ones.
Yeah.
I kind of forget what the other ones were, honestly.
Yeah. There was a lot of different names.
There was tons. We had a giant list, maybe of like 100 different names.
Yeah, and they were all, and there was variations on the theme too. Like before we arrived where we were, we had, a drummer, we had a guitar player, we had just the 2 of us, we tried a bunch of different things until we came across the magic formula of the 3 of us.
Yeah, the trifecta,
the power of 3.
Yeah, this works better than anything that came before it, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you been able to progress playing like Mozart and Chopin and Beethoven as well with your violin, like concertos?
Those are the roots.
Yeah, that's what we started on.
We both studied music, classical music, and played in symphony orchestras. Classical still, I think, both of our #1 love.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other styles are obviously very, very fun and more, it's more like a passion, kind of a fun thing, but classical is our roots.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. How did each of you start your musical journey? Like, for instance, Adrianna, you start first. Whatever brought you to that fact that I'm going to play the violin, not like, I love that guitar, this is what I'm going to do?
You know what? When I was like 8 years old, I don't know, I was watching a movie with my dad. My dad was a musician who played guitar and piano and sang. But I heard in the movie this sound, and I was like, what instrument is that? And he said it was a violin. I was like, I want to learn how to play that. And I don't know what movie it was. I wish I did, but I just love the sound of the violin, and I still think it's the most beautiful sounding instrument personally. Yeah, I love it, and I love emoting on it. I picked the right instrument for me, but I'm sure my dad was, not as happy having to pay for all the lessons instead of being able to teach me himself on like guitar or piano. Yeah.
How about you, Carissa? What about your interest, and how did you get to want to play the violin?
So I originally started on piano, and then I added the viola. So the viola is like a violin, but it's just a little bit bigger, a little bit lower pitched. And I thought the viola sounded the most like a human voice, like a female voice. It was how I heard singing. So I'm like, oh, I just want to sing on the viola. And I still feel the same way. I feel like strings sing like a human voice.
Yeah.
And how about you, CB? How did you get into music?
Well, my grandmother was a singer and definitely sang a lot to me as a child. There was always a lot of music. And my mother is a huge music fan. So she's that person that's always telling you all the, nerdy details.
All the drama that happened between the band members, like all of the pop culture that comes with music.
Yeah, and now I'm that guy. Like,
yes,
you could name almost any song, and I could tell you the story behind the song.
Yeah.
Or at least the band. And yeah, so don't get me started. But
put him on a trivia show.
We'll be here all night.
You would win.
Yeah.
You would conquer that.
Yeah. So I was always that guy, in your friend group that would be like, hey, you have to check out this music, check out this band or check out this song. And that sort of naturally progressed into me doing that as a DJ. I started in high school, you know, DJing for parties and then at nightclubs. In Canada, the drinking age is a lot younger. And I was DJing when I was still in high school. So I started pretty young in clubs and stuff, and been doing it ever since.
Hey, Adrianna and Carissa, am I under the impression that the very first song you learned? Now, I always ask bass guitarists and guitarists, so what's the first song that's a Smoke on the Water? Do, do, do. Yeah, I don't know if you can play that. No, what's the first song that you remember playing on the violin?
Oh, probably
Go Tell Aunt Rhody. Mary Had a Little Lamb. Twinkle,
Twinkle,
Twinkle.
Twinkle, Little Star.
Yeah, I think the violin is so hard to learn. The way I learned it, I don't know about Adrianna, but we started with pizzicato, so we plucked the strings, just getting used to like a couple of the open strings, and then when we added the bow, you had to really limit the amount of notes that you played, because even playing one note in the right spot is very difficult. So it had to be very basic songs that you could pretty much hear in your head, so that you could move your fingers around to check your intonation, and it had to be well recognizable songs. So those children's songs and folk songs were perfect for our beginnings.
Yeah, I'm looking at I don't know, you probably know Lindsey Sterling and a bunch of these other violinists. They have these electric violins. Is there a difference in sound with either regular violin, like Stradivarius, to electric one, like, or is it for aesthetic reasons?
It is for amplification reasons. So with the electric instruments, I mean, you can put a microphone on an acoustic violin, like one that, you know, you move around with, it's wireless. And that sounds really beautiful, but they are, the electrics, you can use effects with them really easily. Sometimes they come with an extra string. So we both play, instead of a traditional 4-string violin, we play 5-string violin. So it actually has that lower note that's on a viola. And ours are very unique because they light up. So that's the other thing, is like ours look really cool compared to a traditional acoustic instrument. They're a little bit heavier duty, where like an acoustic violin is going to be very delicate, and some of the moves that we do on stage I would probably not recommend with an acoustic violin, because we're doing like back bends and we're dancing around kind of like Lindsey Sterling. We dance around and do rock out a lot with them, so it's better on the electrics.
Yeah, kind of like the difference between playing an old, if you're a guitar player, like playing an old Martin from the 50s, which you would not bring on stage, and a Telecaster that you could just beat up, and if the neck broke, you wouldn't care, you know?
Yeah.
And I used to see rock concerts where the main guitarist would bust their guitar. I've never seen anybody in a band bust their violin, so I guess that's something that would
come from me.
No, not from me.
I can't do it.
We're so... It's ingrained to be
sacrilege.
Like, treat it like a baby. Yeah. But also, they're usually more expensive than guitars. Even the cheaper electric violins. And since ours are like kind of custom, because I put holographic vinyl on ours, so they're the only two in the world that look like that. Plus, the light up board on top is 3D printed. It's custom. Made by the guy on the East Coast. So, shout out to David. Yeah. And, so they're very custom. I wouldn't want to break them. Plus it took me some time to put the vinyl on them, and I don't want to do that again for a while. Yeah.
Do you and Carissa switch violins once in a while? Or do you like, nope, this is mine, I'm playing it, you play your own sort of attitude?
No, but we do play each other's. Like I will bow her instrument in the show.
Yeah, she'll come up behind me.
That's cool. Yeah,
left hand, and she'll bow. And I'll twirl my bow around.
And hopefully not
like
hit
a drummer.
Me.
Yeah. And sometimes I smack her in the face, but I try not to.
It's part of it.
It's a highlight of the show for sure. That's a highlight moment. I'm usually saying something like, get your phones out because this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to know the difference between a violin and cello. I know that cello is bigger than a violin, but am I correct in assuming that if you play the violin professionally, can you pick up a cello and play it the same way, or is it totally different?
No,
really,
it's completely different positions,
wow.
A different clef. So like the music you read is like in a different language, I guess you could say.
Wow.
Different clef.
The finger patterns are a lot different, very stretched out compared to a violin, which is really small spaces. The cello's big spaces.
It's closer to an upright bass, I guess.
Yeah. I think it would take us a couple of months to be able to like sound okay on them. And
using our ear, we could figure out, but definitely not play it at the level that we're doing on a violin, for sure. No. Shout out to the cellists out there.
Yeah.
Yes. You listen to these girls now. Can you describe the creative process behind your performances?
Oh, yeah. It was an evolution for sure. And we just keep trying to add more to it to make it visually stunning. We're trying to make, we have a lot of our own music videos. We have the actual music videos for a lot of the songs we do because it is playing with the DJ and playing for parties and events and public events as well. So we're always doing like a plethora of top 40 of like the last 20, 30 years. And so there's the music video aspect, there's the lighting aspect. So every song is lit to every single beat has its own light, and it tells their violins that also light up. And we also, CB is the one who programmed all of this, by the way.
A lot of work.
Lots of hours.
Yeah.
Lots of hours. The mad scientist will just go into his cave and just work for hours on end. It's very tedious work.
Tedious, yeah.
Every beat to every song is thought out.
And we think out like when we do because we do improv solos, but there'll be strategic moments when we do them. And so he'll have the violins light up specifically when we're doing our solo. So when I'm playing my solo, it's lighting up, and then trade off to her solo, her violins lighting up.
Yeah.
Wow.
And very cool.
Yeah. It's very intense. So.
And then we've also, like all of that you're seeing on stage, we also have had hours and hours of rehearsal practicing what choreography is going to go along with each song.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot goes into our performances for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And
I can imagine, because choreography, you have to be in sync sometimes, and you have to know what the other one is doing, and you don't want to misstep. I'm very, very interested in the whole makeup and the choreography of Kate Bush's cover song you did of Running Up That Hill. And I wonder if you used drones for that, but that must have been a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
shout out to our friend DJ Rectangle who shot that music video for us.
Yeah, he shot that for us. We did use a drone.
We did.
We used a lot of 360 cams on giant poles to get like some of those sweeping motion, like the sweeping view of everything.
Yeah, so some of those shots that look like drones are actually a 360 shot on essentially a crane, but a big pole. Mm-hmm. But some of it was actually a flying drone. And the first day we shot 2 days, and the first day we shot up there, it was June in Las Vegas.
It was hot.
And it was well over 100 degrees, and Adrianna was leaving to go on tour with Rod Stewart.
The next day, so we had to shoot
that day.
Yeah.
And both Rectangle and Carissa got heat stroke up on the top of that mountain. So we went through, it was a lot of pain going. We were running up that hill.
Climbing up this actual hill.
Yeah.
And then going back down and climbing back up again, and going back down and climbing back up.
Yeah, it was hot. And then Rectangle and I went back the next day, just me and him, to do my solo bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely.
We were running up that hill, and a couple people might have just stayed on that hill.
Yeah, it was definitely hot.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But yeah, I was about to leave for tour with Rod the next day, so I was like, "This is the time we got to do it." Yep. Yeah.
Quite a powerful video. It's an amazing video. For 1:19 it took you, what, 2 days to film, you said?
Yeah, and then I don't know how many days to edit. Several.
Wow.
Several days to edit the video. Yeah.
A lot of work for not a lot of time on screen.
Right.
But it's all worth it in the end, though. I mean, it's amazing. People understand how much work goes into something like that. They'll be like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else, you know?
Right. That's the thing. And as a group, you know, when you're promoting yourself, you have to be kind of your own video editors and social media managers and like all of that kind of stuff. Every struggling act is very familiar with that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm just letting you know that I am a big Linkin Park fan, and I know they hired that lady to take over, which I don't agree with, but you did In the End.
Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to explain the due time. All I know, time is a valuable thing. Watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Watch it count down to the end of the day. The clock takes life away.
Yeah.
That's wow. You put a lot of work in everything here. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
How did was that one put together? Like, CB, you said that you put every note and things together. Like, you do all this, and then Carissa, did you just do all the other stuff, and then it looks so good on film, but it's like fantastic what you do and how you play, and I just marvel. And just why Linkin Park's In the End?
Well, we just all love that song, love that group, love that song. It was like an integral part of mine and Carissa's like musical making, I guess you could
musical
say.
Favorites. Linkin Park is up there on biggest influences.
For sure, absolutely. And it speaks to our, you know, it's always, they say you're standing on the shoulders of giants, and so it's really like, hey, this is an obvious influence for us. Like we're making electronic dance music, but it's also influenced by hip hop, and it's influenced by other things. Chris and I both rap, so it's sort of a likely choice, and we have this huge list of stuff like that we'd love to cover or work on. And that one rose to the top when I DJ'd, it was a Halloween a couple of years back. And I just, for whatever reason, played it as an encore. And the place exploded, and I went, yeah, note to self, maybe we should cover this song. You know? So that, it was definitely went to the top of the list, but the list is very long of songs that we want to, either cover or sample or, and lots of them in various stages of completion at this point.
Yeah, along with a lot of original in various states of completion for sure. Yeah.
Okay, what was the most difficult part of it? The choreography, the virtuoso part of the violining, syncing, or probably poor guy that has to edit the film together. Probably the editing was the worst.
So I only edited half of that, and then I had to delegate because of baby and everything.
She tapped out.
I had to tap out and tap somebody in.
So the rosin,
Yeah, but the hardest part, there's a shot where we're all back to back, and our videographer, also DJ Rectangle, was shooting us and walking around us and tripping over bushes, of course, because we're out in the desert, and so he's like falling into holes and tripping on bushes. So he's trying to keep the gimbal nice and smooth and like at the same height, but also we had to record that to a track that was partially sped up, partially slowed down, partially like double sped up, so that when we put it all to the same beat, some parts moved really fast and some parts were slow motion. And then editing that after the fact, which I did the most of, was just trying to line all of that stuff up with the track so that it actually looked like I was playing with the music, or, you know, they were saying their words at the right speed. That was crazy.
Yeah, because then, and you know, with the using the different speeds enables you to, if you recorded at double speed, then you can make it half as fast, and then it's in slow motion. Well, imagine having to rap that, which is already significantly faster than the original song. We made ours much faster. Yeah. Well, imagine doing that twice as fast, or singing, in her case, twice as fast.
We did.
Yep.
And that's how you get that slow motion.
Me trying
effect.
To play twice as fast. That's like literally how fast that part was going. Like...
And then we had a section where I was doing it half as fast, so that I could have this really, it would end up looking like this in the final version, and then it would ramp up to her going double time. So I was half speed and she was double time, but it was all
one.
But it was in like one take.
Yeah.
And you can see it, and it did make it. It's in there. You can see where it ramps from like me going super fast to her going super slow.
Yeah, all in one take.
All in one take. So... But really, it was an ambitious idea.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you blend classical violin with modern DJ beats so seamlessly? What's the secret?
We know our music theory.
Yes, music theory. Also, we pick songs that have lend themselves well to melodic lines, because on violin it's very melodic. So lots of notes sound really good. It's not so much like a rhythmic instrument or anything like that, which we can do, but I do a lot of the orchestration for our songs, and it kind of just like in my head, I can just hear it. Then I just try to like record as soon as I hear it. And CB, and he'll be there like during the recording process and like, I don't like that idea so much. Let's try something different. So he'll be like, what about something a little bit less melodic or a little bit more flourishy? He'll kind of like describe it like that. And I will just try to like figure something out for that.
Yeah, that works. When you have like the DJ CB, and then you have the two greatest violinists together, you're like, big show there.
Yeah.
What has been your most memorable performance to date? Something that is etched in your memory?
Ooh, there's a couple.
Yeah, we've already had a handful of like, wow, those were really good. Yeah.
So last year, New Year's Eve, we were in the Bahamas at a really nice resort, Baha Mar, playing their New Year's Eve party. And it was, we're a space-themed group, and the theme was dancing on the moon. So we had this giant moon that was like 3 stories tall. It was a giant balloon moon above us as we're performing. And
so cool.
And just being able to be somewhere nice and warm. There's a beach. That was really nice. We had our daughter there, and
her nickname is Moon.
Her nickname is Moon, so very appropriate. Yeah, so that was really nice.
Yeah, it was like a paid vacation, you know.
It was
awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
So that was glorious. But I think one of the most like heartfelt, memorable moments was when we did a USO in Southeast Asia. I can't say specifically where we were, but played on an Air Force base. And, you know, our troops were just very like happy to have somebody come and play like their favorite songs, but, you know, just adding a little violin. And we sing too and rap. And so it was just really nice to come over and see how they lived their lives. We stayed in barracks and did the whole thing.
Yeah, we got a taste for one night of what it's like there.
Yeah. Was it one night only? I mean, it took us 20 something hours to get over to that part of the world. Yeah,
all for one night.
All for one night only.
Yeah.
I think we were there for 2 nights.
That's right,
technically.
2 nights.
But it was really nice to just see their smiles and just like give them something that they could, you know, a taste of home. So that felt really good.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in knowing, how do you prepare for a live show? Like, what is some of the rituals or some of the things you do? You just don't, ladies and gentlemen, violin, you just grab your violins and you just start playing. There must be something you do beforehand so that you don't mess up.
It's all the preparation you could imagine, and then some.
Yeah.
This one's usually prepping for days before a performance.
Yeah, we have a catalog of material that we work with, that we're constantly adding to. And
is it like how many hours now? Like total, like 4.5 hours?
Yeah, something like that. And again, we're only playing very, very small sections of a song. You know,
30 seconds.
Yeah, it's as little as 10 seconds and as much as maybe a minute. But no more than that. If you sort of imagine, how long would it take for you to say, oh yeah, this is that song, and now I've heard the concept of it. Like if it was used in a movie or a commercial, how much of the song would you need to hear? That's how much we play. Yeah. Like just that much, no more, no, just that, and move on to the next one.
Yeah,
and
it's like a giant medley when we play, like 2 hours of a giant medley, nonstop. The beats never stop.
Yeah, so
the music never stops.
Like we had one 45-minute set where we played 90 songs, one every
90
30
songs.
Seconds. That's one every 30.
And Adrianna and we're using in-ears to be able to hear ourselves and hear the mix that CB sends us, but we do not have cues in our ears to tell us what song is next. So a lot of it is us listening, like knowing the mix beforehand and then trying to remember the order so that we can land on time in the right key.
And in the right choreography too. So actually tonight after this podcast, we're going to have a rehearsal because we have a performance in Dallas coming up in about a week. And we're going to familiarize ourselves with the set, and we're going to brush up on our choreography that we've created for a lot of these songs, maybe like alter them a little bit.
Learn a couple of new songs. Yeah.
Hopefully not too many. But yeah, it's a long process. And then any new song that comes in, he has to mess with the track. He has to cut it down to size. He has to put cue marks in it. Then he has to program the lights to it. And he has to make sure the video fits nice, is not showing any naked parts or anything like that, or, you know, curse words on the screen. If there's any words on the screen, there's a lot of, it's for one performance that's like 90 minutes is probably like a full work week of like 8-hour days.
Oh, it's months. I would say to do 45 minutes, it's months. I'd say it'd be 2 months.
If it was all fresh music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would take probably 2 months to build that. Like,
I remember like having 160 of my favorite songs on MP3, and I calculated it took 13 hours to play every song. But you play enough songs, like 90 songs in 45 minutes. I thought because in the end, it's not like 2 minutes and 41 seconds. It's a longer song. And I'm thinking, you're running up that hill. It's only a minute. Is it because of copyright rules, or it's just because that's how you do it?
We just do play them short. In fact, when we do in the end live, it's shorter than that.
Yeah,
so we only play like a minute and a half of it.
Yeah.
Even though it's our song, we you know, because the other thing is once the audience gets used to that flow, you can't then just play a long.
Yeah, they get pretty spoiled to quick mixing. So if you throw a long song in there, they get bored of it really easily, not knowing that, like, even if it's their favorite song, they're just so used to the quick mixing at that point. You kind of it's like psychologically it's very interesting.
We've spent a lot of time analyzing how people act and move and watching their reactions, and we're all very self-critical in a good way, in the sense that we're always trying to make the show better. So, you know, each of us will come back with feedback and, you know, this worked, that worked, this didn't work. What if we try this? Let's try that. We're always trying to come up with ways to make it better.
Yeah, always tweaking.
That's clever. But 90 songs. So you said you had an in-here piece. Is that because if you forget what the 10th song is, you'll be sharing the next song is this one, next song is this one?
No.
Like, no?
So we'll have, and how we do them is we do them in these little chunks. So each chunk might be, let's say, approximately 10 minutes. So, for example, you'd have 20 songs in 10 minutes. So those 20 songs, they've rehearsed them enough times to know when we start with song 1, we're going to run through those 20.
Yeah.
And everyone, you know, every once in a while we might have a small tweak here or there for this particular performance. But generally speaking, we know that that's what those 20 songs are going to be. And then we move on to another chunk.
Yeah, and then CB will puzzle piece them around. So our sets are never the same. And every performance is always different because some will be like, for this group of people, they may not appreciate this kind of chunk, you know, that has more of a specific style of music. We play all styles of music, you know, just like pop, hip hop, rock, country, classic rock. So, you know, if we know that they're not, say this as an example, this gig coming up in Dallas, they're not as fond of like 80s classic rock. So we're going to have to take any chunks out that have like 80s classic rock in them.
Right.
Yeah.
And they like country. So we have to
add in more country chunks.
So that's kind of how we do it. And, you know, we had an event for a client. We do a lot of corporate works, and we had an event for a client, and we got to the event and they said, you can't play any 80s songs because there's a cover band coming on after you. And we had already rehearsed our set. We knew what we were going to play. And so suddenly we have to go through
and pull out all the 80s songs and then put in
and find something to fill the time with.
Yeah.
And again, if you're 30 seconds at a time, it's like the math.
That was definitely that gig. That performance was definitely CB's like in a talk back mic into our ears, like, okay, this song. Okay, the next song's gonna be this.
But it's usually not like that. We were scrambling.
Yeah,
that was a dire straits situation.
Yeah.
So I had a microphone and I was just talking just to them.
Yeah.
Just trying to help them.
Yeah.
So your openers and closers are different all the time. It's not like you have a set list. This is what we're playing.
Yeah, we have like an opener that we usually use. And the choreography is really like pow, you know. So it's usually our version of Sweet Dreams. And we have some really like flashy choreography that goes with it. But sometimes it's not. Like I feel like that's maybe like half the shows start with that and half are just all over the place.
Yeah. And then we have a handful of songs that are kind of showstoppers.
Yeah.
So we have, you know, 3 or 4 songs that are kind of like applause breaks, places where people would applause. So, you know, if it's a shorter set, we might throw one of those in the middle and then a couple at the end. If it's a longer one, you know, it just depends, you know. And we'll do, you know, at the end, we'll just have a bunch of little, you know, things for people to applaud. So they kind of get that feeling like, oh, it's coming to an end now. I've had a few chances to clap.
Yeah.
And you know, a couple encores as well.
Yeah.
So Adrianna, do you learn from Carissa and back and forth? You get better as time goes on because of each other?
Every time we play together. Yeah.
We learn from each other though, for sure. Yeah.
We play so well together. So
yeah, that's
my brain thinks in harmony and her brain thinks in melody. So when we're up with what we're going to play to each song, we kind of naturally fall into this perfect 2-part harmony, and we didn't have to say, you do the higher, I'll do the, it just happens. So it makes it really nice.
Yeah, it's very like the synchronicity is there, and it makes it very cozy. It's cozy, especially like if we do end up doing sets where we have to improv on, we naturally go towards different areas of the song and we're not playing the same thing. So that helps a lot. It's a lot of fun actually. And then the creative process, like when we sit down and we write songs, this one is like the queen of the drop. So like Yeah, she can write, and she, you know, she'll get on the keyboard and like mess around with like the chord progression, and then whenever we do a drop, and that's like an EDM thing, is like the song starts and then it ramps up and then boom, the beat comes in really heavy, and that's when you have like this really epic melodic line. Usually that's all this one.
Yeah, is there anything original in there? Like, do you hate being called a violin cover band, or you don't mind?
We do cover bands, like we're in so many cover bands that it doesn't matter to us so much. We haven't put anything super original out. Yet. The next one that we're going to put out is going to be very original. Our first single that we put out a year and change ago was an interpolation. So we took the track of one song and put our own lyrics, and CB's the lyricist in the group. He writes all the raps and the lyrics. So he created all these verses, and then we just re-recorded all the instrumentation for the track. So it's all us, but yeah, I don't know if you can hear baby girls behind the door asking for mama. She hears me talking. But yeah, so.
Yeah, and even what's funny is that when we do that song live, we actually use another track. So it's like a mashup of an interpolation.
Yeah.
Like we use the riff from Jack and Diane, which is that as the song, as the musical idea. Underneath the
lyrics you wrote,
the vocal that is from Space Hog, and then the lyrics that I wrote.
Yeah.
So there's always kind of this level of adding, but multiple ideas to one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, since you said that you take only a minute or so of a song, that's why you can play 90 songs in 45 minutes. If you have to sit down thinking, oh, we should play a David Bowie song, but would they recognize it in the first minute? No. Well, how about this song? Yeah, they'll recognize it. So let's add that. Is that how you do it? Because there's some songs that won't recognize unless 2 or 3 minutes of it are playing.
I mean, that's a really good. That's a really good thing. Yeah, exactly. Like if you say David Bowie to me, I can tell you 2 songs that I can think of off the top of my head that are instantly recognizable. One is Fame, and the other one is Let's Dance. Yeah. And so you could play either one of those songs. And that first instant, that's the riff. Like, you get all the information is there, and then you can move on. And there are a lot of songs like that where the initial impact of the song is within those first few seconds, and then after that, it just goes like this. Like people would cheer for the da 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 dun, 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 and then that's it. That's all you need. Mm-hmm. You don't even need to play the rest of the song. You don't even need to hear his voice. So, I mean, it's true, but I know from experience, if you play any more of that song, people aren't going to dance harder. They're going to dance. They're going to lose interest as it goes.
Yeah.
Not all songs are like that, but there are a lot of songs like that.
Well, Adrianna and Carissa, Thunderstruck, was that added to any of your plays there? Because I couldn't recognize Thunderstruck in 10 seconds.
That's one of our big, remember we talked about our big finisher moments?
Yeah, that's the one where she comes up and bows my instrument, and I twirl my bow, and our instruments are lighting up frantically. That is definitely one of our showstopper pieces.
Yeah,
for sure.
What do you hope your audience would take away from your shows?
That they had a really great time, kind of like an energized feeling. We also, and this will come out more when we put out more of our originals, is like our message is really just like peace and love, and to treat your fellow man with respect and dignity and love. That's kind of like our main message. So we want people to feel positive and energized and happy and that kind of feeling.
And for them to talk about you as well, how good a show it was, and it's amazing that stuff like that. Yeah,
that's certainly a byproduct of putting on a good show, and again being our own, being very self-critical of our of our performances. You know, every time we get off stage, every one of us is always like, "Oh, I did this, or I missed that, right? I should have done this, or next time we'll do this." And that's kind of almost always what's going through our mind. You know, no matter how good the show was. But
well, I don't know. I get a nice playing high off of our shows.
Speak for yourself.
It's like an adrenaline. Yeah,
it's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah. I mean,
so how do you stay innovative and fresh in your performances if it's all different
genres?
Well, we are constantly adding new music, fresh choreography, lighting, and we're always trying to add more tech to our shows. So, you know, we have a vision of where we want to go, be it like adding lasers, adding like even more choreography, adding
special effects,
yeah. Light up clothing is in our future as well. So
yeah.
So as a group now, how do you handle creative differences unless you're all in sync all the time?
Well, no, that's why there's three of us. Always a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that work? Do you have to, who takes control here? CB, do you take control or do you let the girls do their work?
I feel like we all have had our fair share. When we're really passionate about something, we will be the lead, and then the other two can either side with that person or side with each other.
Yeah.
And you're out.
Yeah. It's
what's your idea?
Yeah. It's very much like, what do you think about this? I don't like it that much. And the other person, you know, like we definitely, it's definitely very a democracy here for sure.
Yeah. And one of our rules is that we'll just try it.
Yeah. So
if somebody comes up with an idea and the other two people are like, we'll just try it. And then we can vote on it, because sometimes if you just try to say an idea or try to, as opposed to doing it, it might not come across. And then you try it, you go, oh, actually, that was a really good idea, or that was a good solution to that problem we were working on.
Yeah.
So we're definitely open to just trying stuff. And then usually the three of us know, okay, if it's working or not. But every once in a while, like it's, the 2 out of 3 will decide what we're going to do.
Yeah, I've known a couple of magicians who actually they're married, of course, and they do tricks. So he saws her in half, and she does tricks and everything. And they said they're together 24/7. How is it to work not only with your wife but having to be in her personal space every day?
Honestly, it's pretty awesome. I like I said earlier, when I'm on stage with Carissa and Adrianna, like I'm just so happy. Being on stage by myself as a DJ is not anywhere near as satisfying.
Wow.
Yeah, no matter the size of the crowd or anything, or whatever the gig is, it's just, I really care about her and love her, and and it's a blessing. I can't say it any other way.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but for us, it's really wonderful. So I think it's made our relationship stronger, and learning how to communicate with each other. Not like those husband and wife scenarios where like they both go to their separate jobs and then they see each other for dinner and then they fall asleep next to each other and then they separate again, and it's just kind of, I appreciate being able to spend time with him. So
yeah, it's great. We're really lucky.
Wow. How do you balance your personal life with your demanding performance schedule?
That's a good question for Carissa, actually.
Yeah, Carissa.
Busy woman.
She loves to book herself.
Yes.
Grammy-nominated too. Come on, what's your answer?
I love the hustle. I work really, really hard, but I still manage to make time for personal life as well. That's very important to me. So I just don't sleep very much. Work hard, play hard.
There you go.
Yeah.
Then it's great that a group like you can just stay together like that. It's amazing. Well, what kind of what has been the most rewarding aspect of your musical career so far?
creating our own music, I think. Yeah,
that's what comes to mind for sure.
Yeah. You know, we
taking this original idea, and it was just a show on Fremont Street. You know, that's where we started, and then building it into what we have now. It's been just rewarding to see how far we've come, and exciting to think where we're going to go.
What about your fan base? Like, how do you connect with them? Not just during a live performance, but also other ways as well, like social media. How does that work for you?
Well, I think that's something that we can definitely improve upon. And a lot of it is at home. Definitely watching the kiddo all the time has taken a lot of time away from running social media. So that's something that we want to improve upon. We were doing great up until she was born. and then family takes priority, especially a little boo-boo. She demands attention, and she gets it. So, but and CB, my husband, loves to remind me, like, they grow up so fast, just soak up every second you can with them. So, you know, when she starts growing up, or like going to school, which will not be too long from now. Yeah, we'll blink and she'll be going to school, and I'm going to have all the time in the world on my hands to run social media and connect with our audience again. We used to really connect DMs and like signatures and all that kind of stuff, really connect deeply with our audience base, especially anybody who like sent an email in. But at this point, you know, we're going to try to do better.
Yeah. And I think certainly being on podcasts is a great way for us to connect with our fan base. So we really appreciate you having us on, because people get to know us as people, and not just as the idea of who we might be in their mind. And I do like the idea of the artist being a bit of a mystery. I really like that. But I also understand that people want to get to know you a little bit better and feel like they have a connection to you as a human being.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out Bad Bunny's real name, but I'll tell you one thing. It took me 7 years before I realized who Mr. Beast was and what his name, Jimmy Donaldson. But everyone called him Mr. Beast. But he must have had a name. What's his name? Jimmy Donaldson, right?
Right.
So Bad Bunny's name, you know, it's like
that air of mystery. It's very
yeah. So do you have any? What was the most challenging piece you've performed?
For me, I don't know if it's necessarily one song that's challenging. The challenging thing about playing, especially live, is remembering what key the next song is about to start in. And there are some songs that we play that are in non-friendly violin keys. And if you don't just remember, it could be a struggle. So that's my challenge, is remembering live and letting your fingers plant in the right spot.
Yeah.
Because 30 seconds later, you're already in another song in another spot. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. We try to help them. We try to make similar keys in a row. So you might have, 4 or 5 songs that are all in A minor or something, and then move on to E minor, which is, only a fifth away. So we try to kind of do that to make it easier for them, so that, even if they're not ready for that key, at least there's only one wrong note.
Right.
Yeah. And so we try to do that. But when we first built the show, I didn't quite understand the which keys were the most friendly and which ones were the least friendly. And it's certainly when we started the show, there was a few keys that we play on that are really difficult. Yeah. Now I transpose those keys. I don't add those into the set. We did a bunch of new stuff. We played Sturgis a month ago.
Yeah.
And we did an entire set of, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 songs. They were all in E minor. And that was me transposing them all into E minor so they could all be in the same spot.
We had limited time to be able to learn all these new songs that we're like a custom set list for that audience.
Yeah. Very rock and
so CB was very nice to us.
Yeah. Makes it easier for us to memorize things when it's in an easier key, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's not like, you know, Adrianna, you say, you know, you better be nice to my husband. We're kicking you out, Carissa. No, no, you can't do that. But how do you see the future of live music evolving, and where does Vynilyn fit into that vision?
Oh,
That's a good question.
It's really up to the generations that are coming into play. So right now, millennials are the ones spending the money, but they're the ones who are maybe tired after a long day of work and family, and so maybe they want to sit down and watch a ticketed show like that. But there's also like Gen Zers who are more into dancing and all that kind of stuff, which is really fun when we perform and it's a public performance. Anybody who's like a Gen Zer will come up and try to do the dances that we're doing on stage. It's amazing.
Yeah, they'll try to copy.
They'll try to copy the moves that we do, and it's like TikTok dances, you know, which is awesome. So we love connecting to them like that. And so they're the upcoming generation. We kind of want to speak to everybody, but millennials and Gen Zers are kind of like the area that we're focusing on the most. We bring a lot of nostalgia with our music selection, especially the covers that we've done. So that speaks to the millennial.
Yeah, and when we do our corporate events, I feel like we speak to all generations. I mean, that really is our kind of one of our secret powers, superpowers is, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're going to know every song that we play.
Yeah.
We don't play songs. If they're not a 10, we don't play them. And so, if you're a Gen X or a Boomer, you're going to know all the new songs because they're the most popular of the new songs. Mm-hmm. So there's something for everybody.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to ask you this. I don't ask this to all my guests, but I might as well ask you because so artificial intelligence and music, what do you feel about the future of that when now you can take artificial intelligence and create violin and violins and music? And what do you say about that?
You can't recreate passion.
Yeah.
There'll still be, when artificial intelligence is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. But if you look close enough, you can see the non-human element in things that have been created artificially.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think as a tool, we're a heavy technology group, and mm-hmm. I think using technology as a tool and saying, okay, here we are the humans behind this thing, and we're using technology to help, create our music and get our vision out there. I think you will always have, it's sort of like, well, who can write the best prompt to get that AI idea? Mm-hmm. It still takes a really good creative mind to come up with something really cool that is generated by AI. I don't think AI, at least not for a while, is just going to just sort of spew out brilliant things. I think there's still a brilliant human behind it saying, hey, here's this really cool thing, and then AI does the rest. Mm-hmm. We actually used AI on our last song that we're about to release to help us create a sound we were looking for. Like we had a very specific sound, like a Celeste.
Yeah, Celeste, that we were trying to recreate that sound.
And we couldn't find one we liked. And so we used an AI generator to make one for us, and it made like 50.
Yeah.
And we just picked one we wanted. Yeah. So, I mean, they're
as a tool, they're very useful. So,
Yeah, I mean, Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney, they created that song Now and Then, and he used AI to extract John Lennon's vocals from the piano and helped George Harrison be part of it, even though he passed away 20 years ago. And Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney called that the last Beatles song, so they used AI, so it can be used for good. But what I didn't like is the fact that, I don't know if you're familiar with Lena Nystrom from Aqua. They wrote that song Barbie Girl.
Yeah.
You can brush my hair, dress me everywhere. Or then they put it through a Johnny Cash, and now you have him singing that song, and you're like, And I heard 2 Amy Winehouse songs. I thought it was Amy Winehouse, but it was AI generated. I mean, it's crazy what it can do.
Yeah.
It really is, yeah. And for me, again, as a DJ, there's certainly some things that I you know, that ideas that run around in my head. I'm like, well, what if I asked AI to make me a song that's like this, and then we sampled it and chopped it up, and then, you know what I mean? Like you can take some of the old approaches of making music and take AI and kind of mix them together. You know, I think that there's definitely a place for it. It's just, yeah, I think what Carissa said, I don't think it's replacing humans anytime soon. You know?
I know. Like they took the first 8 seconds of Beatles song "Hey Jude," put it through an AI, and it completed it, but not the song that we're familiar with. It came up with all different melodies. They put Mozart's Unfinished Symphony through it. It finished it, and they did it again. It had 6, 7 copies, so it can do everything. I'm like, oh my goodness! Like, what's going to happen to? There's going to be a homeless guy out there who used to be a well-known musician, and now he can't do it anymore because his machine took it over.
Yeah, and I could see in the future that happening, especially like venues who maybe don't want to pay for a live act will have then a generated AI projection of a person performing AI generated music, especially when they don't want to pay for like copyright. I can definitely see that happening unless somebody puts, you know, some rules of engagement with AI, especially like when it's copying somebody's voice. Like I'm sure Beyonce doesn't want her voice used to sing other people's songs. I do know that a lot of writers of music will do that to promote their song to possible people who could sing it. So like if I was writing a song and I imagined Beyonce singing it, I would have AI sing the song with Beyonce's voice. And then I'd be like, here, this is what it would sound like if you sang the song. I know there are writers doing that right now. Yeah. You know, there will be a point where like a Beyonce or somebody was going to be like, well, yeah, but you can't use that and make money off of it because that's my voice is my trademark. I think people are going to start trademarking their voices and what they look like. I'm sure actors are already doing that.
Yeah. Well, that's what the SAG and After Strike was all about: body scanning and paying for the body. Like if you're an actor, you want Kevin Bacon's body to be scanned, and the movie you see him in is not really him. So stuff like that. So you don't know what it's going to do. And you know how much controversy Natalie Cole got into when she did a duet with her father, Unforgettable. Her father had already been dead way before she was born. And so that, like, you don't know, like hey, Vynilyn, do you want to do a duet with David Bowie playing the violin? It's impossible, but AI can do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So he's like, I'm going to keep that idea for future reference.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly landmark cases, and I think, you know, anything that involves law, and you know, you're talking about copyright law, there needs to be a precedent set. And, you know, an example of what you're talking about is the Back to the Future 2, I think, where they had the actor, and they had taken his mold of his face for George McFly, and they put that mask over another actor, and he wasn't in the movie. So he was like, oh, you used my likeness, therefore you have to pay me. So he sued the studio and he won, and now you can't do that anymore. So exactly what Adrianna is saying, there needs to be, you know, some sort of precedent set in law where Drake sues somebody and says, hey, don't do that anymore. And then now it's in law, and now you can't do it anymore. But until that happens, it's kind of the wild, wild west for now. Just like sampling was in the 80s, you know. The Beastie Boys sampled Led Zeppelin and nobody said anything. And then, you know, a few years later, there's lawsuits on everybody.
You know, I was actually watching an interview with Crispin Glover, who played George McFly, and apparently they didn't ask him back in the second film. And he no longer wants to associate in reunions or whatever. So stuff like that. But I have heard several versions. You know, Levitating by Dua Lipa? There's like 5 or 6 songs that use that same chord progression. You can't copyright that. But what if someone took a David Bowie song like Starman, played it backwards, added their own lyrics, and made that a song? Would they be able to? Was that copyright law? Do you know? Like,
I mean, if you're intentionally borrowing, I mean, it all comes down to intent, right? If you're intentionally doing that, then yeah, somebody could say, hey, he intentionally did that. Nikki Sixx famously did that for, I can't remember which song, but it's a very famous song, and it's the same song backwards. He just played the same chords in reverse order. But it doesn't sound like that song, and the melodies are different. And you can't copyright a chord progression. You can't copyright a drum beat. Thank goodness, at least for now. Because you'd run out of songs. There would be no pop music. Yeah, you'd run out of songs. There's only a handful of progressions that sound good. That are pleasing to the ear. And part of what makes pop music so sticky, what makes it, earworms, is that it is familiar. Like the first time you hear a song, you go, oh, I like that song, because it's built on ideas that you've heard before. It's not like some totally left field thing, like when dubstep came out and everyone went, what the hell is this? Like, that usually isn't what people gravitate towards. They gravitate towards things that sound already familiar to them.
Has anybody reached out to you and said you can't use that 1 minute section of that song?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
No. That would just be a simple cease and desist, and we just stop doing it. It's easy. We'd add another song.
Well, thank you, Vynilyn, for being on our podcast and show tonight. Everyone, everything will be linked down below. Their music on Spotify, their YouTube channel, all the links and social media you need to connect with them. So hope that you will like and subscribe as well to this channel. One more question is, what advice would you give to aspiring musicians?
It's a lot of hard work. And there's a lot of moments where you feel like you don't sound good, or it's not, you're not able to achieve or play something that you really wanted to. Keep at it. Keep working at it. It takes years and years and years to be able to be a master of what we do or what you do. So don't give up. If you want it bad enough and you work hard for it, it's a good payoff.
And for aspiring artists who maybe have mastered their craft, but they want to take it public, it really is connecting with people. And if you wanted to perform more, say for us, it's like joining the union, the musicians union here in Vegas, and you get to perform with a bunch of different names. It definitely
make connections.
Making connections. A lot of people make connections now through social media, and that's wonderful. And it can really get you far these days, for sure. And making those real life connections also really benefit you the most.
And CB, do you concur?
I absolutely concur. I think it's a balance of both of those things. It's a balance of basically isolating yourself in a room for hours and hours and hours and hours. They say 10,000 hours to get, to master a craft, or an overnight success is 10 years in the making. There's all these sort of, they are cliches for a reason. You have to just sit there and just practice and practice and practice and practice, to a metronome or whatever you have, and just get the fundamentals down of whatever it is you're trying to do. But at the same time, if all you ever do is practice, and you don't show anybody what you can do, then it'll never work out for you. So you have to do both of those things. And as you practice and you get really good, you become really introverted. At least Adrianna and I are very introverted. Get so in our little bubbles. And then you get somebody like Carissa, who's a little more outgoing.
Sometimes you just got to break out of that chrysalis and become the beautiful butterfly.
So it's both of those skills put together, being good at your craft and practicing, and being outgoing enough to
share it.
To share it and make connections and be part of a community.
Yep.
Is this the violin thing? When you finish doing your violin, you finish playing, you take the bow and the violin, you go like this. Is that a thing?
Like that?
Yeah.
Oh, our number one power finish, I think, is bow up in the air.
Oh.
That's awesome. This is V for violin.
We like sometimes we like to do the V before or after our set to just show violin.
Wow. I'm so honored to have you on the show. I can't believe how blessed I am to be able to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your incredible journey and insights. It's been a pleasure getting to know more about Vynilyn and the magic behind your performances. We look forward to seeing what the future holds for you and can't wait to experience more of your amazing music. To our audience, thank you for tuning in, and be sure to check out Vynilyn's latest projects and performances on their website and social media channels. Until next time, keep the music alive. Okay, we're going to end this stream. Thank you, Adrianna and Carissa and Stevie. Let us end.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Stay right there. Here we go.
Like a map through time, from the top to the bottom, from the bottom we climb. I've got the world on my shoulder holding me in place. Sometimes I feel the weight of the entire human race. It's dragging me down, but I swim against the flow. Don't take this life from me, 'cause I'm not ready to go. Do you see the dream of